In this video, we're going to show you to install the MAP sensor on your Jeep Grand Cherokee, located on the front side of your intake manifold. To remove our ground terminal here, we're going to use a 13mm on the nut side and a 13mm on the bolt head side. Go ahead and loosen that. Give that a wiggle, pull that off and set it aside. Do the same on this side here. We're going to use a 13mm, loosen. Our bolt is holding, but this happens to spin. We can hold it with our wrench. Give that a wiggle, pull this up and off. Now on your particular vehicle, down here on the side of the battery, there may be a wedge or a battery hold down block. You want to go ahead and loosen and remove that bolt and remove the block. Our particular vehicle does not have that. So at this point here, we're just going to go ahead and grab the battery, pull it up and set it aside. We're going to remove our upper intake unit here off of the throttle body as well as our air filter. We're going to use our flathead screwdriver and we're going to go ahead and start to loosen this clamp right here. Then we're going to come on over to the top of the air box. I want to undo the retaining clips and reach underneath the little spring clip and lift up on these tabs. There should be a few of these. Lift up on this and wiggle that off. Underneath our intake here, you're going to find a 10mm bolt. We're going to use our extension and 1/4" ratchet. Loosen and remove that bolt. Now there's one here and there's one on the passenger side as well that we're going to get to next. On the back side, on the driver's side, there is this vacuum port. We're just going to pull that off. And then we're going to go to the back side. There is a hose clamp that secures the air box here to the throttle body. I'm just going to loosen that up a bit. Now I'm going to grab this here and lift it up. On the front side of the engine, we want to go ahead and remove our drive belt or serpentine belt. We're down here on our tensioner. We're using a 15mm socket on that pulley. We want to go ahead and pull on this here. Get some slack on that belt. Drop that belt off, and then we'll go ahead and relax that. On the top of our air compressor right here, I want to go ahead and disconnect our electrical connector. So there's a red safety lock tab. I'm going to push that over. I want to try and push this little lock tab over to unlock it. And it's pretty much unlocked when the entire red tab is gone from this side here. And then we can go ahead and push down on this upper tab and separate that. Now I want to go ahead and unbolt the air compressor itself. We're going to go right to this 15mm bolt down here on the passenger side front. Use our 1/4 inch, our 3/8 ratchet. I'm going to loosen and remove this bolt. Now on the other side here, there's a bolt down right here, 15mm. We're going to use our stubby extension, get on in there, loosen and remove this one. This AC line here has a little plastic bracket supported off one of the studs down below. You're just going to push that off to the side. On the back passenger side of the AC compressor, you're going to find a 13mm bolt here. Loosen and remove that. Now what we want to do is loosen our compressor. We're going to wiggle it back and forth using a pry bar to separate that. Lift it up and swing it out. Now we sprayed some rust penetrant down in there to try and break up that little bit of aluminum corrosion. And we got this up and out. So we're just going to swing this off to the side. And on our map sensor here, there's going to be a red lock tab. I want to go ahead and lift up on this. And then we're going to press in on the little tab behind it and pull the connector off. Now I'm going to remove this connector off of our coolant temp sensor right here. Going to press in on the little tab on the top. And go ahead and wiggle that off. And just fold that harness off to the side. The cable going to our alternator is on our fuel rail. Just a little metal clip. We're just going to go ahead and slide this off of our fuel rail. That'll allow us to pull that off to the side a little bit. Now on the back of our alternator here, we have our power wire going. You want to pinch these tabs, pull off that little cover. We're going to remove this nut here using our 13mm socket. On the back side, we have an electrical connector right here. There's a little pinch tab on the top. You want to pinch that, give that a little wiggle, pop that out, pull our cable off, and set that off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and throw that nut back on our alternator for now. Use a 3/4 inch socket to remove our coolant temp sensor. Now, sometimes you're going to lose a little bit of coolant through here. If you want, you can put a couple towels down. We're going to go ahead and tuck a couple towels up against the intake. Your other option is to go ahead and drain some coolant from the cooling system. But if you just tuck some rags in here, catch any residual coolant that comes out of here. Now in our particular vehicle, we have 1/4 inch screws in here. Your vehicle from the factory may have a T20 Torx bit. You want to go ahead, loosen, and remove these. Go ahead and remove your screws. Now this is held in with just a rubber O-ring going into the intake, so just go ahead and give that a little wiggle. And pop that out. I'm going to line up our sensor and go ahead and push that into the intake. Go ahead and get your screws installed. Now you want to go ahead and torque these down to 25 inch-pounds or 2 foot-pounds. Now that is not a lot at all on here. If you don't have the room to get a torque wrench in there, you just want to make sure once that bottoms out just a tiny bit more, what you're doing is just making sure that those screws are snug in place, and that is it. Go ahead and remove your towels. Let's go ahead and get our temp sensor installed. Now before we install our temp sensor, we're going to apply some thread tape. It's not always necessary, but we just like to do it as a precautionary. We don't want to end up with a leak. Go ahead and line that up into the intake and get that threaded in. Now you want to go ahead and thread it. You're going to feel some tension as that's going in. You're going to feel it start to get snug, pretty snug. Now, when we removed our temp sensor, our clip was facing the passenger side. So you want to go ahead and turn that just a little bit more until it's facing the passenger side like it was originally. Install the alternator harness. And your positive side cable over. There is a tab that lines up on the front side of the stud. Get that nut started on there. Once that nut bottoms out, give it a little bit more. It doesn't have to be super tight, but you do want to lock that in. That tab will assist you in securing that properly. Then you can take your cap here, line this up, press it on. That'll cover that. You have the electrical connector for the back side. Line that up, push it on. You're gonna feel it and hear it snap into place. Give it a little wiggle, make sure that isn't coming off. Then you have the harness clip here. We'll line this up. And just snap that on like so. Bring your harness over. And want to go ahead and put the connector onto your map sensor here. Line that up, push that down, snap that on, and then press that red lock tab on. Then we have our coolant temp sensor harness down below. Go ahead and line that up. Push that down, you're going to hear that lock into place. This last connector is for your AC compressor. So we're just going to reroute this a little bit. Here we go. I'm going to leave that hanging for now. We're going to line up the AC compressor. Swing that around into place. I'm going to take our longer bolt here. I'm going to slide this through the front. I'm just going to use our mallet here or dead blow hammer to go ahead and tap this down so we can get that bolt hole to line up. And feed that in. And we'll get that bolt started here. Take the thicker bolt. I'm going to line that up over here and just tap this. Get that to line up. Get that started. And then we'll take the longer, thinner bolt and get that started on the back side. Let's go ahead and snug down our 15mm bolts. And then we'll snug down our 13mm bolt on the back side. I'm going to come back with a ratchet. Just want to make sure that these are good and snug. I'm going to feed our AC compressor wire down underneath the power wire on the alternator. Bring that underneath the AC line and then onto the connector. Push that on. You're going to feel it and hear it snap in, and then press the lock to engage that. Then we're going to spin up our bracket for the AC line and snap that on. Now that we have our belt set up ready to go, we're going to use our 15mm socket. Let's go ahead and move that tensioner and get that belt put on. Now when you're releasing the tension on the belt, you want to inspect, make sure that the belt is completely on all of the pulleys and all of the ribs are lined up. Install our upper air box. Now installing this here, you have the two installation rubber grommets here, as well as the hose clamp on the back side. Go ahead and line that up onto the throttle body. Push that in. And as that lines up, go ahead and get our bolts installed. Once you get that bolt started there, repeat for the other side. And once you have those started, you want to go ahead and just gently snug those down. Install your vacuum hose here. And then on the back side, use your flathead screwdriver and tighten down that hose clamp. Want to make sure that's good and snug. When I install our airbox lid here, you want to make sure that the four locking clips are flipped outward. Line this up. We're going to feed the intake tube here onto the box, the upper portion here. Go ahead and press our lid down and on and put our locks on. I'm going to make sure that this is fully seated and then secure the hose clamp. Make sure that's snug. Go ahead and install your battery. We're going to use our 13mm socket and tighten this down. Use a 13mm wrench to hold the head side of the battery bolt. And let's go ahead and snug this down. Now, if your vehicle has a battery hold-down wedge or block, you want to go ahead and install that. Our particular vehicle does not have one installed. I'm going to snug that gently, and you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.